Hey there, Alan Matthews here from Classical Guitar Shed, and in this video we're going to be talking about a little mental trick, a little device that we can use to make everything that we play on the classical guitar just a little bit more beautiful. And who doesn't want that? In just a second, I'll tell you what it is. Let's start off with a piece of music. This is Lagrima, very popular guitar piece. Right? We all know this piece and we recognize this piece. Or if not, it's a beautiful piece and check it out. We have a few different things going on here musically, right? First off, we have all these fingers on the left hand that need to get to where they're going. We have all these notes in the right hand that they need to get where they're going. So whenever we just first read this, if we just plow through, we end up with this. This is what we get, right? However, there are multiple lines of music going on here. We have this line of music, we have the bass, we have all these other things, right? And so then the question is, what do we do with that? And the most straightforward answer is, well, the melody needs to be louder. Well, we need to bring out the melody. So now we have chord balance issue, right? That means that the top note needs to be louder than the other ones. Don't let the bottom one drown it out. Another example, this is more straightforward. If a little fuzzy, then we have two lines of music here. A long line on top, and then this bottom line. Right? And so then the question is, whenever we're playing this, how much louder should it be? Especially since that bass is just churning underneath. And this is the tip of the video right here, and that is balance ratios. So we make a ratio. In other words, we say the top part is this many times louder than the bottom part. So let's say it's a 2-to-1 ratio. So now we want twice as much melody as bass. Was that it? What if we had 3-to-1? Of course, it's the notes that fall right at the same time that are a little bit trickier. But even just having the idea, I need to have my melody 3 times as loud as my bass, just having that as a defined goal will make it to where you're more likely to hit your balance and make it more beautifully balanced and notice when it's not. So let's look again at Lagrima. So here we have the melody, or these top notes up here, right? These long notes. This is the melody. Well, everything else is not melody. So if we make a balance ratio out of this and say, okay, let's do a 3-to-1, well then that's going to be, that means that from this note to this note, let me change colors, to this note, that means that needs to be 3 times as quiet, or it needs to be a third. So now we have our loud note on top, and then we have a quiet note, and then 3 times quieter. Same thing with the chord itself, so that with these two notes, the top one is going to be a 3, and then this is going to be a 1. I'm just choosing these. It could be 4-to-1 or 5-to-1 or 10-to-3 or however you wanted to do it, 1-to-2, but define a ratio. And it could be also that you have multiple parts, and this is the next step of our exploration here. And that is that you might have multiple ratios. So the top could be 3, the bass could be 2, and the accompaniment voice could be 1. So now it's a 3-to-2 ratio on the top to the bass, which means just a little bit, right? Louder on the top. But then the bottom one, or the interior voice, the B here, is very quiet. It's quieter than both the bass and the other one. So to define what it is that you're looking at organizes it in your head, and it also makes you split the parts apart. And it also makes you then realize that there's all this stuff right here, right? Which is this, while the long note holds, is it still a 1 or does it go up to a 2? And is this bass note here, is that the 2 or is it 1 like this stuff over here was? So what is it? And then we have to make decisions about that. And as we make these decisions, and as we look and ask these questions, we get to know the piece better, we learn it better, we memorize it more easily, and we ultimately just enjoy our practice more, because then we have this incredibly tricky little thing to do. We're not just spacing out and going out to pizza while we're playing this B7 chord. Instead, each note has its thing that needs to go so we can keep our attention white hot, getting it exactly like we want it throughout that section, so that when we come back in, we're not confused thinking, whatever the notes are, we're not confused as to what's melody and what's not. We also have, and this is the final chapter of our balance ratios exploration here, is that we also have chords. So let's take a look here. This thing has a couple of chords in it. This is the Bach A and G, it's the end of the air on a G string. So the question is about this last chord. So we could do all of the same stuff that we've doing, and I'm sure I could play that better if I put my heart into it. But we have this end chord, and the final chord of the song is really important because it's the final chord of the song. So then how do we balance that chord? And that's our big question. Here's the answer. So with these ratios, if we wanted to look at these ratios, the melody note is probably going to be the 1. So this is da, tum, bum. So that'll be the top one. So whatever it is, let's just say there's 4 notes, we'll have 4. That top note is going to be the 4, right? So that'll be the loudest note. We'll keep it the loudest note. So then what's the next loudest note? And the next loudest note is going to be the 3rd of the chord, because that's the interesting note. Because this is the C. That's not very interesting, but the E is the 3rd of the chord, C, D, E. That's the one that gives it its color, that tells us it's a major chord, not a minor chord. So that's going to be the next one. So we'll call that one 3. Then the root note is going to be the next one, we'll call that one 2. And then that G, which doesn't really add very much, it's the 5th of the chord, we'll call that 1. So then we have a direct volume scheme for this last chord. And we can work on how we play that. It's a little bit techy, I know this is an advanced concept. But we want the top note to be loudest, the second note to be down from that. So a quarter less, let's say, but still audible. The bottom note needs to be half as much as the top. And then the G in there just needs to be really quiet and a 4th. And so if we can do that at the end of the song consistently, then we'll have this beautiful rich chord to end it on. So that's how to balance the chords. Balance ratios are just a fun little thing we can use to make our music more beautiful. It's a way that we can quantify how much louder is this than that. 3 to 1, 2 to 1. All right, have fun with that. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do. And I look forward to seeing you soon. Take care.